Hello, welcome to Illuminations with Tiina and Fi. I'm Fi.
And I'm Tiina.
Hello to you who desires a life of joy. Welcome to our second episode around perfectionism, or being perfect, or having a driver that's be perfect. And in this episode, we're going to start to explore how we have managed our be perfect or perfectionisms. So Tiina, anything you would like to start by sharing at this point?
Wow. I think, as with everything else, it's a journey. And it's a journey that starts with realizing either drivers or the, being a perfectionist. And last episode, you mentioned the TA questionnaire, which can reveal your drivers. And maybe some of you viewers have done that. Other ways, it's kind of starting to notice things. And I thought maybe I'll start there to kind of help people to understand if they have the drivers or are perfectionists. Because, and this is something that we didn't talk about that much in the last episode, is the importance of why we're talking about this. And I'll refer back to Brené a little bit, because she, in her book, Daring Greatly, if you haven't read it, please go and read it. It's fantastic. She says this, and I think this is like super important. I'll just find the page. Perfectionism is not the key to success. In fact, research shows that perfectionism hampers achievement. Perfectionism is correlated with depression, anxiety, addiction, and life paralysis or missed opportunities. So it's kind of a big deal, so I just want to kind of point to that. Then I go to the next lovely lady who I've learned so much from. So of course, Brené has been part of my journey in figuring out myself, increasingly arriving to that life of joy that we kind of talk about. Another person is Terry Cole, and she's got this fantastic little list of, if you do some of these things, you might actually be a perfectionist. So I thought I'd kind of pick some of those out, because that might be the start of somebody's journey to understanding. Perfectionistic thinking, black and white. Anything less than perfect is failure. If I need help from others, then I am weak. Do you have any kind of thinking like that? Catastrophic thinking. If I make a mistake in front of my co-workers, I won't be able to survive the humiliation. So it becomes like the huge thing. It's like almost like life or death. Oh my God, it's terrible. I can do that quite a lot, so I'll put my hand up to that one. Probability overestimation. So although I spent all night preparing for a presentation, I know I won't do well. So it's like thinking about, okay, what will happen? Oh, it will definitely not work out. Should statements. I should never make mistakes. I should never come across as nervous or anxious. I should. And then perfectionistic behavior, difficulty completing tasks. And we talked about in the last episode of even starting something because you might think it won't be perfect. So either overcautious, and you might spend an enormous amount of time on a task that actually takes a very short amount of time, but because you need to go through every detail. That also works into the excessive checking and constantly trying to improve things or redo them. And I remember when we were writing the book, we were both aware that we might both have tendencies to maybe write the book over a course of 10 years, because we might go back and kind of look at it, but we didn't. I think we did really well on that one. And
I didn't do it at all, hardly, in the book, which was an eye-opener for me. So obviously book writing isn't the trigger for me, interestingly enough.
No, because I remember in the end, you were the one who said, no, it's done now. It's, no more.
I didn't do that with one of my degrees, but there you go. So
I know.
Maybe I've learned.
Yeah. But that's fantastic, great learning. But, there was a bit of, so maybe I'll own it then. for me, it could have taken 10 years.
Oh,
I wanted
okay.
to check
Yeah,
it.
fair enough.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But I know that we talked about it because you
We
talked about
did,
your master's,
definitely.
your
Yes.
paper. Yeah.
It was taken off me at 2
Yes.
o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Agonizing with small details. And this
Mm.
one is me making elaborate to-do lists. Even when do I get up? 10:02, brush teeth, shower. I do that. Yeah. And avoiding trying new things. So you don't try new things because you might not be
Mm.
perfect at them
Mm.
the first time around. And if you're not, I mean, and then who's perfect with anything in the first time?
Mm.
So I think that's a start of that journey. I know that was a really long roundabout way in answering your question.
Brilliant.
But,
Brilliant. No, it's added some real juicy stuff to the first episode because it was long enough, you're right. And that's perfect because when I think about working with some of my clients, taking time to do things and deeply processing and taking time is so part of it. And in a world that's so busy, that's often not okay. And it's really triggered off some stuff, me thinking about people. But yeah, thank you, Tiina. Really helpful. And actually, in transaction analysis, they say they obviously watch nuances, so they watch tones. And you did it actually in the first episode, if that's okay. You looked up and started scoping around, and that's searching. But often, I don't know whether this is because of you, but you did it as a visual. Whether it was to do with being perfect, I don't know. But you look up and look around because what you're doing is making sure that the end is perfect. I think about a lot of people who rabbit on sometimes and they just rabbit and they don't do that kind of looking around. I'm starting to notice more now with people who starts to look around. So yeah, and they call it this word, which I love, called, which is kind of your shoulds, the parentheses. So I'm here today, as I said, that TA is, as we might say, it's always that. And you can see I was reading Brené and I get it now because I get really sometimes a bit agitated, just slightly. All right, I've always got my anger continuum going, but she even writes like, as most women, about body, she goes, like most women. That's a classic perfectionism statement. They call them a parenthesis. It's like a, kind of making it normalized, making it right, making it okay. I can't just say, I have a body image, I have to concern that I've got the perfect body. You add that in, and some people do. And I keep thinking, why do you need to say that? And now I'm beginning to understand. So it's quite helpful. So they use qualifiers, so to certainly, possibly, completely, as we have seen, they're all qualifiers. So, they make it right. Is that making sense?
it is making sense, but I don't think it always has to be like that it comes from that kind of driver. Is it that always?
Well, they would say yes, includes words and phrases. They just they watch transaction. They don't do the psycho stuff of it. They literally observe behavior and words and like how you say it. So you come into adult, you kind of, yeah. So, but it's only a theory.
No, of
It's
course,
just
of course.
another theory, isn't it? So, but yeah, again, you're right. It's about helping people to notice. I mean, when I read that you do, I mean, I don't know if you recognise this in me, but I often will go, well, A, blah, 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 B, blah, 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 C, blah, blah, blah. It just made me laugh because that's so what I do. And I had a
Yeah,
friend
I
here
noticed
last
that.
night and she was doing it as well. And I giggled, So, yeah. So, right, I will share one way I have managed this. I've got two, but I will share one because obviously, our journeys, you're right, have been, I mean, Brené says she's a recovering perfectionist, and I often will say that out loud to people, and they laugh. So one of mine is the internal dialogue that we talked about in our first episode. So it's what you talked about, the hypercritical, and I have the mantra, I'm doing the best I can. And in fact, Brené calls it something like, I'm doing good enough, so I say I'm doing the best I can. So I really keep a check on that. really keep a check on it a lot. So if it comes in, I go, I'm doing the best I can. I'm doing the best I can. So over the years, that has got quite more quiet, definitely. So that's one. The other one that's really helped change my world is intention, and you know this, intention and not expectation.
Mm-hmm.
And that was given to me by one of the guys who did the training on the Daring Way. So thank you, Darren. And he helped me to understand that I went into some situations with an expectation, which might be the catastrophizing expectation even. But if I just went in with an intention, then that really helped. So the intention is, we've talked about this in other episodes, I'm going to be in the now and have fun, be in the now and notice, hear with my, listen with my ears and hear with my heart. Things like that have really helped. And sometimes when I do intention, if it's a more challenging situation, so for example with you in your singing, what I do is I then use Brené's permission slips. So what do I need to give myself permission? So I wrote some of my permission slips down, and you literally write them and stick them on the door as you go out. So so my intention might be, I went to the training on transaction analysis. I'm going to show up as myself, because what I often will do in training is my fear of getting it wrong is so great that I won't say anything, even though I know a lot. I mean, as you know, I've studied a lot of transaction analysis, and I did know a lot. And actually, my intention was to show up as me. So that meant giving myself permission to get it wrong, giving myself permission to not understand, giving my permission to show what I know. And then I do a final phase, which is what you need to let go of. And that's really helpful, because in order for me to give myself those permissions, I need to let go of A, my judgment of others, B, fear of judgment of others, but they're so connected, and C, my ego. I need to watch what's coming out through my ego and not coming out through my heart. And that's my two ways that I'm calming it. And
I think my way has become just do it. To say cliche, I don't think 10 years ago I wouldn't have started a karate class with my daughter, never having done karate before. I am probably one of the worst ones in the class, and it's like, well, so what? This is joy. This is being my daughter. It's like I'm changing. I'm not here to be a karate master. Or even this illuminations, when we started it was like, okay, let's just do it. So it's like, it will be whatever it is.
Excellent.
But I never watch these, so this. I very rarely watch them back, because that probably is the driver comes in a little bit. Yeah. I might never ever do another episode. That becomes too vulnerable. Yeah, and not only in terms of what I say, but what do I look like? Yes. Because I think I've also got a tad of that.
I know.
And it's not unusual for women to have be perfect in the way we look.
Yes, definitely.
And because that's a culturally huge thing.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. And I think, you know what, you've raised that really well, because it's funny, what I've tipped on this is, you're right, because I have a very strong be perfect how I look driver, but somehow it doesn't bother me in illuminations. And I think that's where my passion and my mission and purpose, which we'll do another time, you've helped me understand this, thank you, overrides that concern so much that the gain of doing it is greater than the negative, not the negative, the default thinking around what I look like. And that's why, because that is so, I want to get this out to the world, and that overrides it. That's the word I was looking for. So I hadn't thought about that until now, because I, as you know, go back and watch them, because I often do the blurbs and tags, and you do all the techno stuff. We know our strengths, you see, between us. That's why it's a good team. And I kind of watch them and don't think about, I go, wow, that's so brilliant. Oh, I wish I watched that 10 years ago. So it is fascinating, but that's why, because so maybe that's another method of looking at it. So we've got 3 at the moment. You saying just do it. That's, you know, feel the fear. And maybe there is another one about maybe looking at what is your drive and purpose and mission and meaning. We have done a session. We've done illuminations on that, haven't we? Didn't we do purpose?
Yes,
I think we did.
Yeah.
So go back and look at that one, and maybe crank that up in that moment, because that might override the be perfect desire. Excellent.
Oh, and actually, returning to Terry Cole,
Yes.
she had some really great questions. If you find yourself stuck in perfectionistic behavior,
Love it.
try to look at the big picture. Does it really matter? It's a question. What is the worst that could happen? Will this matter tomorrow? If the worst happens, will I survive?
Yeah. And that is the Tim Ferriss fear setting TED talk. That's what he does, which is brilliant for Be Perfect. And I'm working through that with a couple of my clients, looking at what are all the fears, not ignoring them, getting them out, putting them down there, doing some what he calls prevention work, and then, you know, looking at the gain of doing it and not doing it. Really good. Linking to the positive psychology side as well. Fantastic.
Brilliant.
There we go. Brilliant,
Good.
people. That's a very juicy topic and a very juicy episode with lots of clarification, but also lots of ideas. So please do, if you have, try some of these, and we don't try, if you do some of these and play with them and practice, because it's practice, isn't it, Tiina?
Practice.
You know, this is the one word. It's not try, it's practice. You know, then please do comment and let us know if you've actually got any ways that you've managed your perfectionism or be perfect or perfectionistic behaviors. I like that. Then, you know, let us know in the comments box. Please share. I'm sure there are loads of friends and colleagues and family who definitely you will recognize who may well gain from this, as Tiina said, you know, to prevent stress and anxiety and worry and even depression. And please subscribe so that you get more information and juicy hot topic and have your life of joy. Thank you, Tiina.
Thank you, Fi. See you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye now.